This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
The conversation continues as we turn to security matters now. Officers of the Department of State Services, DSS, have arrested 10 suspected members of the Boko Haram militants in Osun State. The DSS has indicated that the suspects had been under surveillance prior to the arrest. Joining the conversation this morning is Jesse Atta, a Risk Operations and Intelligence Coordinator at Beacon Consulting. Mr. Atta, good morning and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Our pleasure. Let's start from here. This arrest in Osun State, what can you tell us about it? It seems a bit different from where we typically hear of security operatives arresting Boko Haram insurgents. What is the likelihood that those who were arrested are actually Boko Haram members?
Well, just mentioned, the headlines have largely read suspected Boko Haram members. And when we put that into context, we can say, suspected Boko Haram members should fit into various categories in perhaps the group's hierarchy in terms of people who finance the group, who play some level of strategic role in fostering the group's ideology, perhaps in indoctrination of locals, in getting new members, recruiters, or some form of category that plays a role there. However, one thing that's for certain is that the DSS had likely been conducting surveillance on this group. If you read the breakdown of the operation, it clearly states that even despite the fact that the DSS had concerns over internal sabotage, they had put up a special team that came into Osun and were conducting surveillance on the group and its activity, on some of its members and their activities. And when it was time to arrest, they had sent in a special working group to handle that arrest and move the suspect out immediately. So I think it's largely credible that that members associated with the group had been arrested. Looking at the bigger picture of things, this is not the first time we are having instances of Boko Haram or ISWAP linked activities outside of the Northwest, which has had a heavy impact of Boko Haram activities. We saw this in Kogi, Edo, and some other states in the Southwest region as well.
So seeing them in Osun now, what does that tell us? Because it seems like, there's a further spread down south of their activities. What does that tell us of their moves?
Well, for many listeners, and I think one thing that is quite common with Nigerians, I'm sorry to say, is that we often forget and throw things to the back, particularly in the instance where when something does not affect us directly, it is likely thought to be their own problem than our own problem. And for over 3 or 4 years now, there has been a forecasted shift in Boko Haram activities or terrorist activities, largely of expansion towards coastal West African states. When we talk about coastal West African states, we're not just talking about Nigeria as a whole. We're talking about Benin, Togo, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire, and other countries around the West African Bank. And as much as they keep on coming down south, it means that even within these countries, you see that further expansion continues. We saw this first in the Northwest region, where we had instances of these groups coming down south, largely taking up ungoverned spaces. We saw this in the North Central as well, in states like Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, Niger State, Kogi, and so on and so forth. We saw that in the South, like I mentioned, Edo, and now we're seeing in Osun. There was a church massacre some time back, which was largely suspected to be members of Kogi cell that had operated there, which was largely still enshrouded in so much level of mystery. However, I think it's credible to actually say that there is growing expansion of terrorist groups. As long as there is a gap and there is an opportunity to operate, there is a security gap to exploit, groups will likely continue to expand. Because when you look at it, it's not just about the activities of a group, it's an ideology, it's a buy-in. You look at socio-economic concerns in the country, the radicalization that continues to happen, the fundamentalism that continues to play out amongst religions and ethnic groups. When you look online and see the kind of conversations that happen on a day-to-day basis, Christians versus Muslims, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, and those kind of concerns, they continue to create buy-in into this indoctrination efforts by terrorist groups. We continue to get the buy-in of young people, particularly youth, from various communities or states, irrespective of the tribe or whatever. These flows continue to impact that, and unless we start to drive that clarion call for patriotism, for a Nigerian-led ideology in embracing national security concerns, then we'll continue to have this geographical spread of terrorist ideologies, and you see that it's not just limited to the northern region, but down to the south. I mean, for example, if I can just chip in, that is the secessionism. Secessionism, which was largely seen in the southeast region, we are seeing calls in the southwest region. We have northern groups that have also called for secessionism as well. And these are ideologies that continue to fester because there's the absence of strategic communication being pushed out by government in order to drive patriotism. We've seen the president mention the need for such, but we are yet to see the direct impact of that call.
Right. Well, Mr. Atta, thank you very much for your time and your expertise on this conversation. Jesse Atta is a risk and intelligence analyst at Beacon Consulting. He joined us this morning to speak on the arrest of 10 suspected members of the Boko Haram ISWAP sect in Osun State.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.